So I want to say I'm super excited about the fact that we are growing as a family and we are increasing, and a lot of people are hungry for the truth. But one of the main things that I want to put across is that this is not just speaking empty words. We are not here just to know some bunch of words or theories or doctrines or scriptures. Or no, this goes deeper. This goes deeper. This is not just about speaking. This is about speaking with power. This is about when authority begins to engulf the words that comes out of your mouth. This is when you lift up your voice to decree a thing, it manifests. That's what this is all about. That is why I am willing to take you deeper, so that you come into this dimension where you come to a place where whatever you speak with your mouth comes to pass. If it's not for, honestly think about it, if it's not for power and authority, then what do we have to stand against the powers there be, to stand against those who sit in secret places for their secret meetings, to stand against those with wicked intentions and plans? What grounds do we have to stand and speak? So we are here because we want to go deeper and not just speak some bunch of words, but decree a thing and watch that thing be established. That is why I'm doing this. And that is why I get excited every day when I see that I post information out there, I put wisdom out there, I put knowledge out there, and somebody would want to watch it and learn something out of it. This is what the melanated truth is about. The melanated truth is about power. The melanated truth is about authority. The melanated truth is about you coming into this dimension and realizing that you are not ordinary. That's what I'm about. Let's go into today's subject. Akwaba yɛde ɔbɔ ade no ase, yɛde ɔbɔ ade no ase, yɛde obi biara ase, yɛde tumi akasa wetwa yɛn ho ahyia, yɛde tumi a ɔbɔ bibima ho ban, yɛde tumi a ɔbɔ Ghana ho ban, yɛde tumi a ɔbɔ waraso ho ban. Ɔyɛ menije bebree de amena wo yase na ehiem bio ne yɛbɛkyekyɛ nsampa no, yɛbɛkyerɛkyerɛ nsampa no mu. Menije same. I'm speaking a lot of fancy today because I'm excited about what I'm about to do, and it's going to be amazing. So all that I said was that we bless the Creator for giving us life, for blessing us with the gift of life. We bless the powers there be for the opportunity that they give us every single day to come your way to speak the melanated truth. This is our truth. This is the truth that they didn't want you to know. But blessed be to the Most High, the Creator, the all-knowing one. We are coming into the melanated truth. We are coming into exactly what they didn't want us to know. And that is why everybody should ask the question, why didn't they want us to know these things? Why did they went the extra mile to make sure these things are hidden? That is when you come to an understanding that these things were hidden for a purpose. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew exactly what they were doing. So welcome to Melanated Truth. Today I want to talk about a subject, but I will finish tomorrow. That is how come I'm not using the title for it today. But the subject I want to talk about is the gods of the Bible. The gods of the Bible, or the gods in the Bible, or the gods of the Bible. So the minute I say that, it wakes something in you like, what do you mean the gods of the Bible? Yes, there are multiple gods in the Bible, and it's sad that most people who have read the Bible for years don't even know about what I'm about to say. And I didn't know either. It took me a long time to come to this place for the powers there be and the Spirit of the Creator to wake this truth in me. And truth is always embedded in you. That is how come when anybody says anything that relates to your spirit, you come alive. Something sparks you. Okay, I've always wondered this. I've always wondered why this was never that or that was never this. I've always wondered it. And I just didn't have the answers, but I knew this. You understand? So truth is already in you. Truth is not coming, it's not now coming into you. So it's just like mineral. Minerals are hidden. for the right timing of discovery, right? So truth is also hidden in you for the right timing of discovery, the right moment where it gets discovered or it gets opened up, or the right time that somebody injects a truth in you that would kickstart or spark the entirety of the truth that is hidden in you. So I want us to go this. I want to say this. The truth is only one. The truth is only one. There is only one truth. We don't have multiplicity of truth. There's only one truth. The difference is that there are many avenues or channels to get to this one truth. But there's only one truth. There are not multiple truths out there. There's only one truth. You understand? There's the fact that this is true, and without a question, that there are multiplicity of the universe. The multiplicity of the universe is true. Though you don't see it, though you don't know it, it's just simply true. Like there is air, we breathe in air. It's true. You don't see it, you've never seen it, but it exists. There are certain things that you don't necessarily see them, but the fact that you don't see them doesn't mean they don't exist. So truth is just one. Whether we like it or not, whichever way we want to perceive it or see it or project it, the creator would always be the creator. You understand? There would always be the creator. Once there is creation, there's definitely a creator. There cannot be creation without somebody creating it. So the fact that you are alive is enough evidence to show or to tell anybody that there is a creator. When you see the chair or the couch or the seat in an office or something like that, you don't need to know who made it. Automatically you know there's a creator of that chair, there's a carpenter, there's a woodworker that designed that piece of furniture, right? So certain things are enough evidences for you to know that this just is what it is. You might not know why it is the way it is, you might not know why it does exist, but it's just what it is. We always need to have it at the back of our heads that the environment that we grow up in determines the sort of perspective that we would have. Meaning, the particular environment that you find yourself growing up in would influence the truth you know. Because if you are growing up in an environment that all you know is this and that, that is all your interpretations would be involved with. You understand? What you know growing up determines the sort of spectrum that you see things or you perceive things through. So your environment, your culture, who you are, where you are raised from would always determine how you perceive things. So if I grew up, for example, if somebody grows up in a jungle and another person grows up in a palace, you don't expect the two of them to interpret things the same way. The one that grew up in the jungle is going to interpret things according to how he saw or perceived in the jungle. So the jungle is shaping this one's mentality. You, on the other hand, who grew up in the castle or the palace is shaping in your mentality, your ideology. So your mental picture, your mental faculty is well based on the kind of environment you are growing up from. So the fact that you are growing up in a particular environment or culture or atmosphere doesn't determine the fact that that is the only thing that is in existence. You will come to a place where you realize that there are a lot of things in existence that you don't know. But you know everything that is in your existence. So you cannot limit yourself in this life to think that, okay, because I don't know this, that means it doesn't exist. You need to come to a place where you can admit to yourself that I don't know. Knowing is the reason why there are a lot of troubles in the world today. The world as we know it doesn't have a lot of problems. The world as we know it doesn't fight, doesn't contend against itself. The earth, the demarcations, the geographic locations that we see around us doesn't have a problem. The only problem that exists into this dimension is man. And man becomes a problem when man begins to talk from a spectrum of I know. As a human being, you need to be able to operate in this dimension where you just don't know. Not knowing is what brings you into knowledge. Do you see the contrast? Not knowing is what brings you into the spectrum of knowledge. When you claim you know, you do not come into the dimensions of knowledge. Because knowing brings a gate to your life. Knowing brings a halt to your pursuit. The minute you feel you know, you don't go any further. The world already has one problem, that's human beings. And the human beings is what is making the world what it is today. I mean, we just went on a lockdown and everything became still, right? Go back to the same places that you used to walk, the gardens, the parks that you used to sit in, and go and watch how nature on its own has repaired itself. Take your time, right? When you stop going to a particular place for a period of time, you realize that nature on its own begins to fix everything that has gone wrong. So the only thing that is going wrong in our world today is us. We are the problem. And the reason why we are the problem because everybody is claiming they know something. The minute you come into the dimension of not knowing, I do not know, that is when you begin to know. Until you come to a place where you grow past the fence that you see yourself in, you would never know what exists outside the fence. So when we have a fence, right, and you are at a level, probably the fence is about 6 feet, and you are at only 2 feet high, right? You can never know what exists beyond the fence. So the only world that you will know is the world that exists in the fence. The only knowledge, the only thing you would know is the things that exist in the knowledge. So exist in the fence, sorry. So imagine when you finally grow up to about 5 feet high, right? Let's say 5.5. And then somehow, when you tiptoe, you begin to see on top of the fence, and then you begin to see the things that are par or at level with the fence. All of a sudden, your world begins to change. Because how you used to perceive things has all of a sudden changed. And now, you are looking into another spectrum. You understand? But imagine if when you were in the fence and you were below the height of the fence, if you thought everything that exists in the fence is what it is and there's no other world out there. Well, to your surprise, you'll grow up over the height of the fence and come and realize that there's a whole dimension that you didn't know. You see what I'm saying? So when you are able to exhaust what you know in a particular area or a fence, that means that it's time for you to go to the next dimension. But whilst you are on the level of growing and capturing and exhausting what is in this dimension, you don't say to yourself, I know. Because the minute you claim you know, automatically your brain processes. The processes of your brain begins to shut down. They don't process things anymore. There are 3 levels of knowledge. The first level is the things that you know you know. That's the first level of knowledge. You know it. But the fact that you know it doesn't mean that is it. That is the fullness of knowledge. The second level of knowledge are the things that you know that you don't know. You understand? You come to this height where you realize that there are things that you yourself know. I don't know this thing. When you don't know something, you never fight. It is only I know that fight. When you feel you know you're right, you will contend with everything that comes your way. But when you come to this place where you admit to the fact that I don't know something, who are you going to fight? You don't know it. So what would you do? You always say that I don't really know these things, so I need you to help me know this thing. So now all of a sudden there's an understanding that you don't know something. So the other party that knows what you don't know at this particular point in time begins to teach you. You don't fight the person. You don't contend the person. But the minute all of us come to this place where we all feel I know, instantly that processor that is in your brain that pushes you to the next dimension begins to shut down. So you just say, I don't know. And there's a third level of knowledge, which are the things that you don't even know you don't know. Yes, the things that you don't even know that you don't know. That level of knowledge, you don't even know that it exists. You understand? Because you don't know that you don't even know these things. Let me set a typical example. There are a lot of people that is coming into this community and we are growing every day. Amazing. Bless everybody that is doing the hard work of sharing around and encourage people. I don't really want to mention a lot of names, but very soon I'll be mentioning names of people that keep pushing and keep spreading the news about this family, right? This community. But until you join this community, did you know that somebody like me existed? You didn't know. So somebody like me was a level of knowledge that you didn't know that didn't even exist. You just didn't know. All that you knew was the world that was around you. So now all of a sudden, another spectrum has opened onto you because you admitted that you did not know and you kept pursuing, right? So now you've come to this place where all of a sudden you know me. And since you've come to know me, you are now knowing the knowledge that I have. The intelligence that flows through me is all coming into you. Do you understand how the dimension works? So as you climb higher, as you go to the next level, you would begin to know something that you didn't know before. Once you come into contact with the next level's information will be relayed to you. The minute you are exhausted, you move to the next level. So now you understand that it's not wise to say that I know. Because if you did say that you know, then you would never know the things that I know. So there are dimensions out there. That is why I said from the beginning in my first video that the Most High is calling us into this seventh dimension. When you have that understanding, you would always walk with your shoulders down. You do not walk arrogantly. You walk in a humble spirit because you know that, listen, there are people out there that know things that I don't know, whether you like it or not. So the writers of the Bible were not writing everything according to everything that exists. They were writing everything according to the things that they knew. Scripture is only exposing us to one dimension of knowledge. Let me break it down for somebody to understand what I'm trying to say here. Let's take for instance, when you pay attention to the knowledge that is out there about ancient texts of the Sumerians, right? The Sumerians spoke a lot of things that are not in scripture. Or let's take for instance, ancient texts of the Kema people, the Kemet. The Kemet wrote a lot of information that don't exist in the Bible. Or let's take ancient texts of the Chinese or ancient texts of the Indians. They have a lot of information that is not in the Bible. It's not written down in the Bible. Let me not even go far. Let me come to my own people, the West Africans. The West African knowledge or the West African intelligence, it predates the Sumerian text. It predates the text of Mesopotamia. It predates the text of the scriptures. It predates the ancient Chinese text. It predates the Babylonian text. So imagine somebody full of the wisdom or intelligence of the West African people, or let me say the Akan people, or the Ewe people, or the Ga people, or the Yoruba people, or the Benuans, or the Togolese, or the Musi people. When you go to their intelligence, you would understand that there are a lot of things that exist in there that you've never heard about. When those people were writing their history, they never knew any of the Bible writers. So their history is not dependent on what the Bible writers are saying. The Bible writers are saying one thing, and their history is also saying another thing. The people that predate the Bible writers also knew certain things. One of the questions that we got to come into understanding of is the fact that how were they living? How were they communicating? What are the things that they believed in? I believe before I set the knowledge of the powers of the day, the divine beings, the 7 divine beings that the Creator created, meaning the Sunday being, the Tuesday being, the Wednesday being, the Thursday being, the Friday being, the Saturday being, the Monday being, of course. Before I shared this knowledge, I believe a lot of people had no idea that these beings existed. But guess who named these beings? Our ancient ancestors, our forefathers that never came into contact with a white man's language, that never came into contact with the letters of the alphabet, the English alphabet, that never had an understanding of how the Englishmen spoke or understood certain things. They named the names of the weak. They had encounters with the names of the weak. They had encounters with the powers of the weak. Are you now telling me because the English version of a scripture is saying that something does not exist, that means the thing that existed before that didn't exist? Is that what we're saying? The mistake most people do is that almost every believer of the scriptures think the scriptures were written in English. And every name that exists in the scriptures were first written in English. So when you pick most of the names of the scriptures, or most of the beings or the powers there be in the scriptures, these are all English names. These are all English, from Adam all the way to Malachi. These are all English names. These are not Hebrew names. These are all English names. Before it got to the English versions, what was the names in Greek? Before it got to the Greek versions, what was the name in the so-called language Hebrew? Before it got to Hebrew, what language were the first people that existed before the God of Israel, the Hebrew people, started speaking? What language did they speak? What language was Abraham's father speaking? How did Abraham's father call the names of the things that existed? Do you think Abraham's father got up and said, God? It will shock you. The terminology God was never spoken by the mouth of Moses. Moses never said a word God. It didn't exist then. Neither did the name Moses exist. So these are all later additions to what we have as scripture. All of these things had original names. If they had original names, what language was these original names in? When you begin to understand it from that dimension, now you will not limit yourself to the knowledge of the scripture. You will now come to understanding that things happened before the English language got to the scene. So the writers of the scriptures were only writing according to their exposure to the knowledge they have at that time. One of the things people don't know is that whilst the story of Exodus and Israel, all of that was happening, the other nations also had their stories going on. The other nations also had their lives going on. The migration of the children of Israel did not come into encounter or contact with every person that existed on the face of the earth. But when we read the scriptures, you are made to think that everything that was happening was the only thing that was happening on the face of the earth at that time. So let me show you something. If the people of Israel and Egypt were the only people, were the only persons that were going or happening, or the only cities that existed at that time, then where did the Amorites come from? Then where did the Philistine come from? Then where did the mighty army of the Assyrian come from? Where did the Syrian army come from? When did the Greek Empire start growing? Where did the Babylonians come from? Where did the Persians come from? Where did the Romans come from? Did they just appear on the screen or on the scene? Because that is how most people interpret scripture to be. That they got to this point and all of a sudden overnight, a whole city, a whole kingdom appeared. No. Whilst these lives were going on, other lives were going on. And these other lives had their own gods they worshiped and had nothing to do with the God of Israel. So just like a language that is spoken by a group of people with a particular understanding is the same way a God is expressed by a group of people with their understanding. So the expressiveness of my God is always going to be different from the expressiveness of another nation's God. I ever wonder if all these other gods and powers there be had people to write their own stories, what were the stories that we are going to read? Oh, wait. But we have stories of these other gods. But what do we call them? Oh, these are only myths. Oh, these are only stories. Oh, these are only lies. Have you ever wondered? They also look at the children of Israel and everything that there is as, what are these people doing? Before Christianity came to Africa, what was our fathers doing? What was our gods doing? How were our fathers praying before Christianity came to Africa? Which gods were our fathers referring to? When King Leopold wrote his letter about Congo and said that the only how we can defeat Congo is that we get them to disassociate themselves with the gods of Congo, because any nation that loses its God and go and serve another God loses its nation, loses its power, loses its liberation. When a nation changed their God, so that the Belgians knew that the only how they can defeat the Congolese is to make sure they detach themselves from their God. This tactic wasn't only used in Congo. In our history, the first time the white men stepped foot on the shores of the Gold Coast, they ran. Because the powers that be met them at shore and beat them up. They didn't even know what was coming to them. But when you talk about these truths, it looks strange to people's ears that what are you saying? That's demonic, that's idol. The only difference is that you got people, or Christians got people telling their story. But nobody told the stories of our fathers. So when you read the scripture that says that, and the angel of the Lord stepped in the scene and killed 300,000 men, oh, you believe it because you are reading it from scripture, which has been diluted to you. But when our fathers tell the story that the powers there be, the beings that existed amongst it, showed up at the shore when the white men first got here and beat them up. Do you know what Columbus used to say? And when you study his report, he said what? The people of the land are so hostile. What do you mean a people are so hostile? You are the one coming to invade their land. They defend themselves and you say they are too hostile, so I need more manpower. Explain to me of the two, who is more hostile? themselves, they call them hostile. That was the same things of the stories of our fathers. Because our fathers did not write their stories and put their stories in books, all of a sudden it is diminished in the eyes of Christians or Bibles or scriptures. The entire history of the human race is not only documented in scripture. Scripture alone is not enough to document everything that happened on the face of this time. It's not enough. It's not even possible. Those days that we used to believe in the New Testament, they said what? And all the things that Jesus did was not recorded in the scripture. One man, all the things that one man did was not recorded in scripture, because in the New Testament, because it's not even possible to contain his entire lifetime. How much more the histories of our fathers? At least everybody in West Africa knows that we didn't come from we were not birthed here. We moved down to the West African areas. We moved down here to the West African area. Do you think any book on the face of this earth can contain everything our fathers experienced, can contain everything our fathers went through? Do you think a single book can contain it? Not a single book can contain it. But yet, you will allow yourself to be deceived by a white man who has an agenda to tell you that everything your fathers experienced was demonic. It's so sad. Listen, it's so sad. How can you allow somebody to use one sentence, one line, one paragraph, few scriptures to tell you your entire race, the entire race that existed before you were only demon worshippers? How can you allow yourself to come to that standard? How? Most Christians wouldn't even want you to ask them this question. Do you know there are more than one God in the Bible? What do you say? Just that question, just that simple question. Do you know there are more than one God in the Bible? Just a simple question. Christians will freak out to hear you ask that question. Do you know there are more than one God in the Bible that you hold? The idea of more than the existence of one powerful God in the worldview of Christians and even people that claim to be awake, right? The idea of you speaking that they are the multiplicity of God in this dimension automatically brands you as an idol worshiper, a demonic worshiper. Oh man. Idols are not worshipped. Listen, that is what I'm saying. You cannot allow somebody to just use one paragraph, one line to explain to you what they themselves don't understand. Let me show you the understanding of what an idol is. So the idea of an idol is somebody make this bottle, right? And then I use this vase, this bottle, this container to go and fetch water. Let me use this other one. You don't want to know the content of this. So there's oil, right? So I use this vase to collect oil, right? This vase is containing the oil. But this vase is not the oil, it's just the vase. So if I go to the market to buy this vase, I am buying an empty vase. But when I go and buy the oil with the vase, all of a sudden the value of this oil or this vase goes up. Because it's no more just a single vase. So let me explain to you now the idea of what people have termed idol worship. So when they have the vase down, the idol, whatever it is they've created, right? Now what they do is that they invoke the spirit that cannot be contained by any vase. They invoke the spirit by offering second sacrifices and let the spirit come and abide in that vase, and for them to have conversations with. Right? Once they are done having conversations with the spirit that have come to dwell in the vase, the spirit goes away. Are you getting the picture? So the spirit does not stay in the vase. So when another person comes and say, bend down all these vase, these are useless idols, bend down. Have you done anything to the spirit that stays in the vase? The spirit is gone away. So when you bend down this thing, all that you have done is you've just bent down an empty vase. You have not destroyed any spirit. So all these people that claim, I have power to shut down demons and shut down spirits, you've got junk. You have no idea of how these powers operate. You have no idea of how these beings. Can you kill something that you do not see? Can you destroy something that you do not see? I double dare any Christian to come up to me and tell me, listen, I have the power to shut down a demon. Now I'm using a demon now, lack of a better word. And I'm not saying, let me say this. Before anybody else come to watch my video and say that I worship the dead and I worship ancestors. Listen, let me say this. I am not saying I worship demons. I am not saying I worship idols. I am not saying that. I'm only explaining a spectrum of knowledge that does not exist here. If you think everything that you need to know as a human being is in the Bible, for people to think that I have countless of Bible versions, countless. So this life that all that I know is what is written in the Bible. I've lived it. I've been there. I know your pain. I know how you feel. But for you to think that everything that you need in this world is in the Bible, and once you have the Bible, that is all you need, then I double dare you, right? Since everything that you need is in the Bible, I double dare you to use the Bible and go and confront this pandemic that is causing everybody to stay indoors and everybody to be afraid. I double dare you. Go and confront it and say, by the powers and by the sayings of this Bible, I bind you. Where are all the Christians, pastors that claim to have power? They should bind the coronavirus. People are tired of staying in their homes. If Jesus has the power to stop coronavirus, why is Jesus not stopping it? And I'm challenging every other power out there. They should stop it. Every other being, every other God in the dimensions, let them stop the coronavirus and let them stop people from dying. Because the realms of the spirit does not operate like that. It does not. The will of man is left in the hands of man. Do you understand? So when I go to my altar and I pray, I have a covenant with my altar. So I know when I stand in the room full of 100 people with coronaviruses, I'm not going to be infested. Because I have a covenant. I know the power to which I stand in. Because I know how the realms of the spirit operate in the dimensions thereof. I know I can stand in the midst of danger and nothing will happen to me. But I double dare any Christian, anybody that claim they know. Because the realms of the spirit don't work like that. Show me corona in the scriptures. I know everybody will come and tell me, oh, but the scriptures say there will be diseases and sickness. You don't need the scriptures to know there will be diseases and sicknesses. Where the human beings of this dimension are doing things that just brings diseases and sicknesses to them. You don't need spirituality to tell you when you keep eating pork or pig, you're going to have kidney problems. You don't need to be in the spirit to tell you when you take in a lot of alcohol, you're destroying your liver and shutting down. You don't need spirituality to tell you when you take too much sugar into your system, you age and you grow old and gray begins to fall all over you. You don't need spirituality to tell you when you start thinking, when you start stressing yourself, you get gray hair. You don't need spirituality to tell you when you adapt to the use of lenses and all of that. I mean, lenses, spectacles, you destroy your eyes. You don't need spirituality to tell you when you take medicine in, you shut down your organs. You don't need. This is out there. So there are things that only operate in this dimension, and there are things that operate in the realms of the spirit. It is until you understand how these two dimensions operate, then you can know how to enjoy as a blessed child of the Creator. So when Christians frown upon the idea that, you are saying there are multiplicity of God, you're so you're demonic. So most believers, most Christians don't want to even to think that there are multiplicities of divine beings. Others don't have a problem admitting to it though. Honestly, others don't. But they just don't want to call them gods. No. You can't call them a god. There's only one God. For your information, there is not only one God. They are gods. There are multiplicity of gods. Not only one. For your information. But others don't mind saying that there exist other gods, but they just choose to call them demons. Listen, a god is not a demon. A god is not a demon. If I should even stay in the Christian concept and talk about what a demon is a disembodied spirit. A god has its own body. It does not need another person's body. We have spirit and we have God. They are not the same. God possesses spirit. Spirit don't possess God. God have spirit they use, spirit they send on assignment. Spirit don't have God. Spirit serve God. Spirit serves God. So the gods that there be are not spirit, but they have spirit that they use. Are you understanding it? The gods that there be have spirits that they use. These spirits comes in hierarchies. God are not spirit. And when I talk about God, I'm not talking about fallen angels. The gods are above the ranks of angels. Angels are just messengers. You don't send God, you send messengers. God will give you messengers. Powers that be will give you messengers. And these messengers do the bidding of the powers that be. That is why, even in your New Testament, it says what? They met one person, and this person had legions. So gods are not demons. Because most people just want to admit, oh no, that's a demon. No, gods are gods. Demons are demons. And you should understand the fact that the terminology God only exists in the English language. When you go beyond the English language, they are not called gods. They are called so many names but gods. God only exists in the English language. And the English language can only express itself in that word God. So when you go to certain cultures and certain traditions, they don't use the word God. Whatever belief you might carry, Scripture understands and explains and reveals the existence of spiritual beings, what you call God, and the fact that these beings have power, and these beings deserve or desire the worship of men. No matter where you are coming from, no matter what understanding, no matter what background you are coming from, Scripture revealed that to you. And that is exactly what we are going to do tomorrow. I'm going to break down to you from Scripture the existence of God in Scripture. The fact that it is a reality, it's not just a myth. They exist and they are real and they have power. They have power. And they desire the worship of men. Hence, the Most High Yah is not the only God that is worshipped. Other gods are also worshipped by men. The talk of who is the most powerful is only relevant in the eyes of the one speaking. So if I'm Hindu, I will say my gods are powerful. If I'm Buddhist, I will say my gods are powerful. If I'm Islam, I'm Muslim, I will say Allah is powerful. If I'm Christian, I will say Jesus is powerful. If I'm a Hebrew Israelite or Hebrew, whatever titles you call yourself, you will say the God Yah is powerful. Do you know the only people on the face of the earth that says that no God is more powerful than the Creator? There's only one group of people on the face of this earth that have this understanding that gods are not the Creator. That gods do not even come close. Only one person, only one group of people on the face of the earth that accept the reality of the fact that the Creator is not in competition with any God. And as a matter of fact, gods are not in competition, hating one another. There's only one people on the face of the earth that has the spectrum, the whole spectrum of the dimensions and understand it. Every other person has it twisted. So the Muslims say Allah created everything. The Christians say God created everything. The Christians say Jesus created everything. That's what the Christians say. The Israelites say Yah created everything. Ancient Egypt say their own thing, right? Every other people on the face of the earth say their God, their being, the being they worship, created everything. There's only one people on the face of the earth that believes that there's only one Creator. And regardless of which God you serve or what you believe, we have the answers. We know who the Creator is, and we know who the gods are. Only one people. You want to know these people? I know the other people from the Yoruba, the Benuans, the Togolese, all these people have their dimensions, the names they refer to. But let me come down to the Akan, because that is what I know, because that is who I am, or the Eves or the Gans. Either the Eves or the Gans or the Akans or the people in the northern part of Africa, northern part of Ghana. Every single one of us know the gods are not the ones who created us. Every single one of us know that the Creator is above all the gods. And every religion on the face of the earth is worshiping one of these gods, except our true spirituality. It's not a religion. We, the Akans, or the Eves, or the Gans, or the Yorubas, we believe and we know without a doubt that the Most High is not worshipped, and gods are not to be worshipped. Oh, I just said something. Whew. Every religion believes that. We don't. We believe the Creator is the Creator, and the Creator is not a God. We believe the powers that be were created by the Creator to ensure that the world is maintained and sustained. We believe in the existence of all these powers there be. We believe that the human being is as powerful as his creator. And we believe that we are in partnership with the powers there be, and not slaves to the powers there be, not slaves to the gods. We are not slaves to the gods. This is true spirituality. This is not a religion. This is a lifestyle. This is just who we are. We are not slaves. We are divine beings living in a human form. I love you. Stay blessed. Don't forget, tomorrow I go deep into the gods in the Bible and reveal to you what gods exist in the Bible. We are going deeper. That is why I invited you to come deep with me today. Stay blessed. I love you guys. See you tomorrow.